They called me a failure and whispered it behind my back at my own son's wedding. The words cut deeper than any knife ever could. I stood there in my carefully chosen dress, watching them huddle together like conspirators at a funeral, and I knew exactly what they were saying about me. Today, I'm going to tell you something that might just change how you see your own family dynamics. This is a story I've carried alone for so long, and if sharing it helps even one person recognize what I couldn't see for years, then every painful memory will have been worth it. Please, if this touches your heart, hit that like button and subscribe. There are so many others out there who need to hear that they're not alone in this. Help me reach them. I'm standing in the bride's preparation room at the Fairmont Hotel in Chicago, smoothing down the silk of my navy dress for the 100th time. My hands won't stop shaking. Through the half-open door, I can hear my sister Patricia's voice, that particular tone she uses when she wants everyone to lean in close. I've known that voice my whole life. It's the voice that precedes cruelty disguised as concern. The hotel smells like expensive flowers and champagne, like celebration, but all I can smell is my own anxiety. I catch a glimpse of myself in the full-length mirror. At 68, I look exactly like what I am, a woman who has worked herself to the bone, who has given everything, who has believed that love could be earned through sacrifice. The lines around my eyes aren't from laughter. They're from squinting into a future I kept hoping would be different. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my younger son, Marcus. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Traffic is terrible. I'll be there as soon as I can. Don't worry about anything. Love you. Don't worry about anything." If only he knew that everything I do is worry. That worry has become the texture of my life, woven so tightly into my days that I wouldn't know who I am without it. I hear Patricia's laugh, that crystalline, performative sound that makes everyone turn and smile. She's holding court out there, surrounded by cousins and aunts and my own daughter-in-law, Sarah, who chose her dress with Patricia instead of with me. I wasn't even invited to that shopping trip. I found out about it from a Facebook post. Sarah and Patricia, champagne glasses raised, captioned, "Mother-daughter dress shopping." Even though Sarah isn't Patricia's daughter, she's supposed to be mine. Well, my son's wife, but you know what I mean. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you have a family that actually claims you. I think back to when Marcus was born. It was a cold February night in 1985, and I was alone at Northwestern Memorial Hospital because his father, Robert, was working a double shift at the plant. I remember holding this tiny, perfect human and thinking that nothing else would ever matter again, that I would do anything for him, anything at all, and I did. God help me, I did. When Robert died 15 years ago, I took a second job cleaning offices at night so Marcus could finish college. My sister Patricia, married to a successful attorney, used to call me during those years. "You're killing yourself," she'd say, in that voice dripping with false concern. "Maybe Marcus should just take out loans like everyone else. You've already given him enough." But I couldn't stop, because stopping would mean admitting that maybe I hadn't given enough, that maybe I wasn't enough. Patricia never had to clean offices. She never had to choose between groceries and electricity. She lived in a beautiful house in Lincoln Park with her attorney husband and her two perfect daughters who married doctors. Her life was a Pinterest board made flesh. And mine? Mine was the before picture they use in makeover shows. I hear footsteps approaching and quickly wipe my eyes. It's Sarah, my daughter-in-law, looking like a princess in her wedding gown. She's beautiful, truly, and I feel a surge of love for her even as I know she's about to deliver another small cut. "Helen," she says, using my first name instead of Mom, which she stopped calling me about 6 months ago. "Patricia wants to know if you're ready. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. "I'm ready," I say, forcing brightness into my voice. "You look absolutely stunning, sweetheart." She gives me a quick, distracted smile. "Thanks. Patricia helped me with my makeup. She's so good at this stuff." Then she's gone, trailing tulle and the scent of Chanel. Patricia helped her with her makeup. Of course she did. Patricia, who swept into Marcus's life and his wedding planning like a fairy godmother, offering her connections and her impeccable taste. Patricia, who kept saying things like, "Let me handle this, Helen. You have enough to worry about." Making it sound like kindness when really it was a slow, systematic robbery of every role I should have played. I walk out into the corridor and nearly collide with my niece Jennifer, Patricia's youngest daughter. She looks me up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Oh, Aunt Helen, that's what you're wearing?" I look down at my dress. I bought it at Nordstrom Rack. It cost me $200, which felt like a fortune. "What's wrong with it?" She shrugs. "Nothing. I just thought you'd want to look more. I don't know. Special? It's your son's wedding." The implication hangs in the air. You look cheap. You look poor. You look like exactly what you are. "I think she looks lovely," says a voice behind me. It's my cousin Margaret, Patricia's older sister, but her tone makes it clear this is an act of charity, not genuine compliment. Very appropriate. Appropriate. That word that means suitable for your station. I'm appropriate the way a paper napkin is appropriate when the cloth ones run out. I make my way to the ceremony venue, a gorgeous ballroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. The October sun is setting, painting everything gold and orange. It should be beautiful. It should be one of the happiest days of my life. Instead, I feel like I'm walking to my own execution. I find my seat. Second row, aisle seat. Patricia is in the front row, center, because of course she is. She helped plan the seating chart. I remember Marcus showing it to me, apologetic. "Mom, Sarah's family is really big, and we had to make sure everyone fit." And Patricia offered to help organize it all. Patricia turns and sees me. She waves, all warmth and light. "Helen, you made it. We were worried you'd be late." We. As if she and I are a team. As if she hasn't spent the last 6 months positioning herself as the mother of the groom while I've been relegated to distant relative. The ceremony is beautiful. Marcus looks handsome in his tuxedo, and Sarah glows with happiness. I cry, of course, but I'm not sure anyone notices. Patricia cries too, much more dramatically, and 3 people offer her tissues. When it's time for the mother-son dance, Marcus dances with me first, but only for half the song. Then Patricia cuts in, laughing about how she practically raised him too during his college years when he'd come to her house for Sunday dinners. I never knew about those Sunday dinners until today. At the reception, I'm seated at a table with distant relatives I barely know. Patricia is at the head table, of course, next to the bride's parents. When the toasts begin, Patricia stands up with a champagne glass and a microphone. "I just want to say," she begins, her voice trembling with emotion, "how proud I am of Marcus. I've watched him grow from a struggling college student into the man he is today. I remember when he first came to me, worried about his future, wondering if he'd made the right choices. And I told him then what I'll tell him now. You are destined for greatness." The room erupts in applause. I sit there, frozen, wondering if anyone else finds it strange that she's giving this speech instead of me. Wondering if anyone remembers that I'm his actual mother. After Patricia sits down, Marcus stands up. He thanks everyone, thanks Sarah's parents, thanks Patricia for being like a second mother to him. Then he looks at me. "And of course, thank you to my mom, Helen, for always being there." Always being there. 4 words that somehow managed to be both true and completely inadequate. Yes, I was always there. I was there working 2 jobs. I was there cleaning offices at midnight. I was there choosing between my own needs and his, every single time, choosing him. But those 4 words make it sound like I just showed up, like I was a piece of furniture in the background of his life. I smile and nod because that's what you do. You smile and nod and pretend that being minimized doesn't hurt. Later, I'm standing by the dessert table, alone, when I hear them. Patricia and her daughters, clustered near the bar. They don't see me. The music is loud, and they think they're hidden by the crowd, but I can hear every word. "I still can't believe she wore that dress," Jennifer says. "Like, read the room, you know?" "She's always been like that," Patricia responds. "No sense of occasion. Remember when she married Robert? Everyone told her he was going nowhere, but she wouldn't listen." And she was right. Her other daughter, Carolyn, chimes in. "He went nowhere. Died working in that awful factory, leaving her with nothing." They laugh, actually laugh, about my dead husband, about the man I loved, about the father of the groom whose wedding they're currently attending. My hands grip the edge of the dessert table. I feel like I might break it, or break myself. The chocolate fountain in front of me blurs as tears fill my eyes. I think about walking over there, confronting them, asking them how they can be so cruel. But what would be the point? They'd deny it. They'd say I misheard. They'd make me the crazy one, the sensitive one, the one who can't take a joke. "Well, at least Marcus turned out okay," Patricia says. "Despite everything. I'm just glad he had me to guide him when he needed it." Heaven knows Helen couldn't provide the kind of mentorship he needed. Despite everything. As if I were an obstacle he had to overcome rather than the person who made him possible. "Where is Marcus anyway?" Jennifer asks. "Wasn't he supposed to be here by now?" "You mean David?" Caroline corrects her. "Marcus is right there, dancing with Sarah." "Oh, right, David. I always mix them up. Helen had 2 sons, didn't she? What happened to the other one?" "Who knows?" Patricia says dismissively. "He disappeared years ago. Probably couldn't handle the family drama. You know how Helen is. So needy, so demanding. She drives people away." I drive people away. Me. The woman who has spent her entire life trying to hold people close, trying to be enough, trying to earn love through sacrifice. "Where is Marcus anyway?" Jennifer asks. "Wasn't he supposed to be here by now?" And that's when I realize they're not talking about Marcus. They're talking about someone else. They're waiting for someone else. But before I can process this, Sarah appears at my elbow. "Helen, can I talk to you for a minute?" We move to a quieter corner. She looks nervous, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. The ring that I helped Marcus pick out, though he never mentioned that to anyone. The ring I contributed $2,000 toward, money I'd saved for an emergency because I wanted him to give her something beautiful, something worthy. "I want to thank you," she says, "for everything you've done for Marcus. I know it wasn't easy, raising him alone." I wait for the but. There's always a but. "But I also want you to understand something. Marcus and I are starting our own family now, our own traditions, and sometimes that means creating some distance from the past. Not in a bad way," she adds quickly, "just in a healthy boundaries way." Patricia helped me understand that. Patricia helped her understand that. Of course she did. "What exactly are you saying?" I ask, though I already know. "Just that we might not be doing the weekly dinners anymore, and the holidays. We'll probably rotate, you know, so it's fair to everyone." Fair to everyone, meaning fair to Patricia, who has somehow become an equal stakeholder in my son's life. I nod. "I understand," I say, because what else can I say? That I've already lost so much. That weekly dinners were the only thing keeping me tethered to the feeling that I matter? That I can feel myself disappearing, bit by bit, into irrelevance? Sarah hugs me, quick and perfunctory, and then she's gone. I stand there in my appropriate dress, at my second-row seat, with my 4-word thank you, and I wonder how I got here. How did I become a supporting character in my own son's life? I think about all the years, all the sacrifices. The time I gave up a promotion because it would have meant evening shifts and Marcus needed help with his homework. The time I sold my mother's jewelry, the only thing of value I owned, to pay for his college textbooks. The time I went 3 days without eating so he could have money for his class trip. And what do I have to show for it? A seat at a table with strangers, a half-song dance, 4 words of acknowledgement, and a daughter-in-law who wants distance, guided by my sister who has somehow convinced everyone that she is the real maternal figure here. I slip out of the reception and find myself in the hotel lobby. I sit on a plush chair and stare at the revolving door, watching people come and go. A young couple enters laughing, holding hands. An elderly man struggles with his suitcase. A businessman checks his phone. All these people with their own lives, their own stories, and none of them know that I'm falling apart. My phone rings. It's Marcus. "Mom, where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lie. "Just needed some air." "Okay. Well, don't go far. My brother should be here soon." His brother. He never says his name anymore when we talk about him. Just, my brother. As if the name itself carries too much weight. I think about my other son. The one I haven't seen in 3 years. The one who left and never looked back. The one who sends money but never calls. The one who built an empire but forgot where he came from. The one Patricia doesn't even acknowledge exists because his success came without her help, which somehow makes it less valid in her narrative of our family. I think about how I have 2 sons but feel like I'm losing them both. One to distance and wealth. One to Patricia's carefully constructed version of reality. And I think about how tired I am, how bone-deep exhausted, how I've spent 68 years trying to be enough, to do enough, to give enough, and it's never enough. It will never be enough. I stand up and smooth my appropriate dress and prepare to walk back into that ballroom and smile my way through the rest of the evening. Because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. But something shifts inside me. Something small and hard and defiant. A tiny voice that says, maybe, just maybe, I don't have to keep doing this. Maybe I can choose differently. Maybe I can walk away. But not yet. Not tonight. Tonight, I'm still playing my role. Still being appropriate. Still being grateful for scraps. I walk back toward the ballroom, and that's when I see Patricia intercepting me in the hallway. She's alone now, without her audience, and her face is different, harder. "Helen," she says, "we need to talk." "About what?" "About you making a scene. About you looking miserable all night. People are noticing. Sarah is upset. You're ruining her special day." I stare at my sister. At this woman who shared my childhood, who knows every corner of my heart because we grew up in the same small apartment in Bridgeport, sleeping in the same bed until I was 13. This woman who I once loved more than anyone except my sons. "I'm not making a scene," I say quietly. "I'm just existing." "Well, you're existing very loudly," she snaps, "with your sad face and your cheap dress and your pathetic attempt to insert yourself into everything. Can't you just let Marcus have this day without making it about you?" The words hit me like physical blows, each one landing precisely where it will hurt most. Cheap, pathetic, making it about me. Making it about me? I hear my voice rising, something unfamiliar creeping into it. "Patricia, I'm his mother. I'm not trying to insert myself into anything. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to matter." "You matter too much," she hisses, stepping closer. "That's always been your problem, Helen. You smother, you cling, you make your love into a burden that people have to carry. Do you know what Marcus said to me last month? He said he wished you'd just let him breathe, that he felt guilty every time he didn't call you, every time he made plans that didn't include you." The hallway tilts. I reach for the wall to steady myself. "That's not true," I whisper. But even as I say it, I wonder, is it true? Have I been suffocating him without realizing it? "It is true," Patricia says, and now her voice is almost gentle, which somehow makes it worse. "And I'm telling you this because someone needs to. You need to let go, Helen. You need to stop measuring your worth by how much other people need you. It's not healthy. It's not fair to them, and it's destroying you." I gave him everything. I whisper. And that's the problem, Patricia says. You gave him everything, so now you think he owes you something. But he doesn't, Helen. Children don't owe their parents anything. You chose to have him. You chose to raise him. Those were your choices. He doesn't owe you his life in return. She walks away, leaving me standing in that hallway, her words echoing in my head. You chose to have him, as if love is a transaction. As if motherhood is a business deal where you can expect a return on investment. I lean against the wall and close my eyes. I remember Marcus as a baby, the weight of him in my arms, the smell of his head, the way he'd grip my finger with his tiny hand. I remember thinking in that moment that I would die for this child, that nothing else mattered except his happiness and safety and future. And I kept that promise. I kept it so completely that I forgot to save anything for myself. I gave everything to my sons, and now I'm empty. A hollow woman in an appropriate dress, waiting to be dismissed. I don't go back to the reception. I can't. I go to my hotel room instead, the one I booked because I lived too far away to drive home tonight. It's small and impersonal, with beige walls and artwork that looks like it came from a catalog. I sit on the edge of the bed and stare at my hands. These hands changed diapers and packed lunches and signed permission slips and worked 2 jobs and scrubbed toilets and held my sons when they cried and waved goodbye when they left. These hands gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left to give. And now what? Now I'm supposed to gracefully accept my obsolescence? Smile and nod while Patricia takes my place? Pretend that being erased doesn't hurt? I don't sleep that night. I lie in the dark and think about my life, about all the moments that led me here. I think about Robert, dead at 53 from a heart attack because he worked himself to death trying to provide. I think about my sons, one who sends money and one who sends politeness, but neither of whom really needs me anymore. I think about Patricia, who has taken from me the one role I had left, the role of mother, and claimed it as her own. And I think about myself, about Helen, about the woman I was before I became mom, before I became the widow, before I became the poor sister, before I became the appropriate woman in the second row. Who was I? Can I even remember anymore? The darkness of the hotel room presses in on me. I can hear muffled sounds from other rooms, laughter, a television, the distant thump of bass from the reception still going on floors below. Life continuing while mine feels like it's ending. I get up and walk to the window. Chicago spreads out before me, millions of lights, millions of lives. Somewhere down there, Marcus is dancing with his bride, surrounded by people who celebrate him. Patricia is probably still holding court, playing the role she's stolen from me. And I'm up here, alone, wondering how I became so dispensable. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A text from Marcus. "Mom, where did you go? Are you okay?" I stare at the message. 4 hours after I left the reception, he's just now noticing. 4 hours. I type and delete 3 different responses before finally settling on, "I'm fine. Went to my room. Have a wonderful night with your bride." Morning comes, gray and cold. I shower and pack my small bag. The wedding is over. Marcus and Sarah are probably at the airport by now, heading to their honeymoon in Hawaii. Patricia probably helped them plan that too. I check out of the hotel and drive home to my small apartment in Rogers Park. It takes me 40 minutes, and the whole time I'm thinking about Patricia's words. You chose to have him. He doesn't owe you anything. Maybe she's right. Maybe I've been holding on to something that was never mine to keep. Maybe I need to let go. But letting go feels like dying. It feels like admitting that my whole life was a mistake, that all those sacrifices meant nothing, that I am nothing. I pull into my parking spot and sit in my car for a long time, watching people walk by. A mother with a stroller, an old man walking his dog, teenagers laughing about something on their phones. All these people living their lives, and none of them know that mine is falling apart. I finally force myself to get out of the car and walk up to my apartment. It's small but clean, filled with photographs of my sons at various ages. Marcus at his high school graduation, Marcus at his college graduation, Marcus at his engagement party. I have fewer photos of my other son. He always hated cameras. I make myself a cup of tea and sit at my kitchen table. The silence is deafening. This is my life now. This quiet, empty apartment. These photographs of people who have moved on without me. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Patricia. Thanks for coming to the wedding. Sarah appreciated you being there. Sarah appreciated me being there. Not Marcus. Not my own son. Sarah. And even that appreciation is filtered through Patricia's phone, as if I need her to communicate with my own family now. I don't respond. What would I say? You're welcome for existing quietly enough not to ruin everything? I open my laptop and look at my bank account. I have $17,000 in savings. It's taken me 10 years to save that much, putting away $50 here, $100 there whenever I could. It was supposed to be for emergencies, but looking at it now, I realize it's all I have to show for 68 years of life. $17,000 and a lot of photographs. I think about calling Marcus, but what would I say? That his aunt is cruel? That his wife is dismissive? That I feel invisible? He'd just tell me I'm being sensitive, that I'm imagining things, that Patricia is only trying to help. Everyone always thinks Patricia is only trying to help. I spend the next week in a fog. I go to my part-time job at the library, shelving books and helping patrons, and I come home and sit in my apartment and try to understand how my life became so small. I used to have dreams. I used to want things. I used to be a person with opinions and desires and a future that felt open and possible. Now I'm just mom. Except I'm not even really that anymore. I'm former mom. I'm the person you thank politely and then forget about. A letter arrives. It's from Marcus and Sarah, a thank you note for attending the wedding. It's generic and impersonal, clearly from a template. Thank you for celebrating our special day with us. Your presence meant so much. My name is handwritten at the top, but the rest is printed. I wonder how many of these they sent out. I wonder if mine is any different from the one they sent to Sarah's second cousin who they've met twice. I put the card on my refrigerator anyway, because what else am I going to do? Throw it away? Complain about it? To whom? Who would care? Another week passes. Then another. Marcus doesn't call. My other son doesn't call. Patricia sends occasional texts about family events I'm not invited to, framed as if she's keeping me informed out of kindness rather than rubbing my face in my exclusion. I start to understand that this is it. This is the rest of my life. Slow, quiet irrelevance. Waiting for phone calls that won't come, hoping for invitations that won't arrive, measuring my worth in the diminishing frequency of other people's acknowledgement. And I'm so tired. I'm so profoundly, exhaustingly tired. I think about my mother, who died when I was 45. She was a strong woman, fierce and independent, even when my father left. She raised Patricia and me alone, working as a seamstress, and she never complained, never acted like a victim. She just did what needed to be done. What would she think of me now? Of how I've let myself become this diminished version of a person? Would she be disappointed? Would she tell me to stand up for myself? Or would she understand? Would she recognize the particular exhaustion that comes from giving everything and receiving nothing? I wish I could ask her. I wish I could ask anyone. But there's no one. I'm alone with my thoughts and my photographs and my $17,000 and my appropriate dress hanging in the closet, waiting for the next event where I'll be tolerated but not treasured. One night, I'm lying in bed, unable to sleep, and I hear a noise outside. It's just the wind, but it makes me think about break-ins, about safety, about how vulnerable I am here alone. And I realize that if something happened to me, if I had a heart attack or fell or just stopped existing, how long would it take for anyone to notice? A day? A week? Would Marcus miss our weekly phone calls enough to check on me? Or would he just assume I'm busy? Would Patricia notice my absence? Or would she be relieved? I get up and write a letter. I don't know who I'm writing it to, exactly. Maybe myself, maybe the universe, maybe the woman I used to be. Dear, whoever finds this, I write. I tried. I really tried. I wanted to be a good mother, a good sister, a good person. I wanted my love to be enough, but it wasn't. And I don't know how to live in a world where love isn't enough, where sacrifice doesn't matter, where giving everything still leaves you empty. I'm sorry I couldn't be more. I'm sorry I wasn't enough. I'm sorry for existing so loudly. I'll try to be quieter now. I fold the letter and put it in my nightstand drawer. Then I cry. I cry for hours, until my whole body aches and my eyes are swollen and my throat is raw. I cry for Robert and for my sons and for my mother and for myself, for all the versions of me that died along the way, sacrificed on the altar of other people's needs. And when I'm done crying, when there are no tears left, I feel something shift, something hard and cold and final, a door closing inside me, a decision being made without my conscious participation. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep giving to people who don't want what I'm offering. I can't keep hoping that they'll suddenly see me, value me, love me the way I need to be loved. I can't keep making myself smaller and quieter and more appropriate in hopes that it will earn me a place at the table. I just can't. But what can I do? Leave? Go where? I'm 68 years old with $17,000 and a part-time library job. I can't just reinvent myself. Can I? I think about my other son, the one who left, the one who built something from nothing, the one who didn't need permission or approval to become who he is. Maybe he had the right idea all along. Maybe leaving is the only way to survive, but I'm not ready. Not yet. I need to understand something first. I need to understand if I'm crazy, if I'm imagining the cruelty, if Patricia is right and I'm just making it about me when it shouldn't be. So I decide to pay attention, to really watch and listen, to document, to see if what I'm experiencing is real or if I've created a narrative of victimhood because I can't handle being ordinary. Over the next month, I keep a journal. Every interaction with my family, I write it down. Every text message, every phone call, every time I'm excluded or dismissed or made to feel small, I write it all down. The evidence accumulates. It's not in my head. It's real. Patricia really does undermine me. Marcus really does prioritize her opinion over mine. Sarah really does treat me like an obligation rather than family. The cruelty is small, constant, death by 1,000 cuts. But it's there. And seeing it in writing, seeing the pattern laid out in my own handwriting, something hardens inside me. Something that feels almost like anger, but colder, more resolute. I don't deserve this. I didn't earn this treatment by being a bad mother or a bad person. I earned it by being too giving, too accommodating, too willing to accept scraps while pretending they were feasts. And I'm done. But I still don't know what done looks like. I still don't know how to extract myself from a family that doesn't really want me but won't quite let me go either. How do you leave people who haven't technically done anything wrong? Who would deny every accusation? Who would make you feel crazy for even suggesting that their behavior is hurtful? You document it, I think. You gather evidence. You prepare. So that's what I do. I start making copies of text messages. I save emails. I write down conversations verbatim as soon as they end. I'm not sure what I'm gathering this evidence for, exactly. Court? Confrontation? My own sanity? Maybe all three. And then, 6 weeks after the wedding, something happens that changes everything. I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize. I almost don't answer, assuming it's a telemarketer, but something makes me pick up. "Is this Helen Matthews?" a woman's voice asks. "Yes. Who's calling?" "This is Amanda Chen from the Chicago Tribune. I'm working on a piece about philanthropic work in the city, and your son gave me your number. He thought you might want to comment. My son? Which one? I'm sorry, which son? Oh. She sounds surprised. Your son David. David Matthews, the tech entrepreneur. He's being honored at a gala next week for his charitable foundation's work with homeless youth. He listed you as his mother in the program, and I wanted to get a quote from you about his journey. David, my older son, the one who left, the one who Patricia pretends doesn't exist because he succeeded without her help. I didn't know about the gala, I say slowly. There's a pause. Oh, I'm sorry. I assumed. Well, he did list you in the program. Maybe he wanted it to be a surprise. Maybe, I say, though I don't believe it. David hasn't surprised me in years. He's forgotten me, just like Marcus has. Just like everyone has. Would you be willing to give me a quote anyway? About what kind of child he was? What you think shaped his commitment to helping others? I should say no. I should hang up. But instead, I hear myself talking, telling this stranger about David as a boy. How he used to bring home stray cats and injured birds. How he'd give his lunch to kids who didn't have any. How he was always building things, fixing things, trying to make the world better in small ways. He sounds like he was a special kid, Amanda says. He was, I say. He is special. Are you planning to attend the gala? It's next Saturday at the Drake Hotel. I wasn't invited, I say before I can stop myself. Another pause. That seems odd. You're listed in the program as an honored guest. An honored guest. Me. The woman who hasn't spoken to her son in 3 years. The woman he sends money to but never calls. The woman who exists in his life only as a monthly bank transfer. I'll look into it, I say, and end the call. I sit there, phone in hand, trying to process what just happened. David is being honored. At a gala. And he listed me as an honored guest, but didn't tell me about it. Why? Is it an oversight? A mistake? Or is it something else? I look him up online. I haven't Googled David in years, partly because it hurts too much to see his success and know I'm not part of it. But now I look, and what I find stuns me. David Matthews, founder and CEO of Matthews Tech Solutions. Net worth estimated at $800 million. Philanthropist. Innovator. A photograph of him at some event, shaking hands with the mayor. Another of him cutting a ribbon at a new youth center. Another of him speaking at a conference, confident and poised. $800 million. My son. The boy I raised in a cramped apartment in Bridgeport. The boy I worked 2 jobs to feed. The boy who left and never looked back. Or did he look back? Is that what this is? Listing me in the program? Is he reaching out? Or is it just for appearances? Just so people don't ask questions about his absent mother? I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel. So I do what I always do when I'm overwhelmed. I clean. I clean my entire apartment, scrubbing floors and washing windows and organizing closets, trying to make sense of this new information through physical labor. David is a billionaire. Well, almost. 800 million is close enough. And he never told me, never mentioned it. Just kept sending those monthly checks for $2,000, enough to cover my rent and groceries, keeping me alive but not informed, keeping me at a distance but not completely abandoned. Why? Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't he invite me into his success? I think I know the answer. Because I would have wanted more than money. I would have wanted a relationship. I would have wanted phone calls and visits and the messy, complicated work of being family. And he didn't want that, doesn't want that. He wanted to be free. And you can't be free when your mother is pulling you back into her sadness, her need, her endless hunger for acknowledgement. So he sent money instead. Clean. Simple. No emotional entanglement required. I should be angry. I should feel betrayed. But instead, I feel something else. Something like recognition. Because isn't that exactly what I've been doing with Marcus? Trying to hold on? Trying to maintain a connection he doesn't want? Making my love into a burden rather than a gift? Maybe David had the right idea. Maybe distance is the only way to preserve anything worth preserving. I think about the gala, about being listed as an honored guest, about the possibility of seeing David again after 3 years, about walking into that room full of wealthy, successful people and being his mother. Not the sad, poor mother who needs his charity, but his mother, the woman who raised him, who shaped him, who loved him first and best. Would he even want me there? Or is my name in the program just for show? There's only one way to find out. I call the number Amanda Chen gave me for the foundation. A cheerful young woman answers. Matthews Foundation, how may I help you? I'm calling about the gala next week. I believe I'm listed as an honored guest, but I haven't received an invitation. My name is Helen Matthews. Oh, Mrs. Matthews. Yes, hold on. I hear typing. I'm so sorry. There was a mix-up with the invitations. Yours went to the wrong address. Let me get your correct information, and we'll send another one right away. Actually, I say, making a decision I don't fully understand. Could you just tell me the details? Date, time, dress code? Of course. Saturday, November 7th, 7 p.m. at the Drake Hotel. Black tie. And Mrs. Matthews? We're so excited to honor your son. He's done incredible work. He has, I agree, and hang up. Black tie. I don't own anything remotely appropriate for black tie. My navy dress for Marcus's wedding would look pathetic at a gala. I'd be that sad woman in the corner again, clearly out of place, clearly not belonging. But then I think, why should I care? If David listed me as an honored guest, if he put my name in the program for hundreds of people to see, then maybe it's time for me to show up. Really show up. Not as the apologetic, appropriate version of myself, but as myself, as his mother, as a woman who deserves to be there. I go to my bank and withdraw $2,000. It's more than I've spent on myself in a decade, and it makes me sick to do it. But I do it anyway. And then I go shopping. Not at Nordstrom Rack. Not at the discount stores where I usually hunt for bargains. I go to a real boutique on Michigan Avenue, the kind of place I've walked past 1,000 times but never entered. The saleswoman looks me up and down when I walk in, clearly assessing whether I can afford anything. I see the exact moment she decides I can't. Her smile becomes professional but distant. Can I help you find something? She asks in a tone that suggests she'd rather not. I need a dress for a black tie gala, I say, and I need to look like I belong there. Something in my voice must surprise her because her expression shifts. What kind of event? A philanthropic gala at the Drake Hotel. My son is being honored. Your son, she repeats, and I can see her recalculating. What's his name? David Matthews. Her eyes widen. David Matthews from Matthews Tech Solutions? Yes. You're his mother? I am. She smiles, and this time it's genuine. Then let's find you something spectacular. 2 hours later, I walk out of that boutique with a midnight blue gown that costs $1,800. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever owned. It makes me look elegant, distinguished, like someone who matters. I almost put it back 3 times. I almost ran out of the store, but I didn't. I bought it, and a pair of shoes, and a small clutch. And I let them schedule me for hair and makeup on the day of the event. I'm going to that gala. I'm going to see my son. And I'm going to walk in there like I belong, because I do belong. I'm his mother. That matters. Even if nothing else in my life matters, that does. The week passes in a strange blur. I don't tell anyone about the gala. Not Marcus, not Patricia, not anyone. It feels like a secret, like something precious and fragile that might break if I speak it aloud. Each morning, I wake up and look at the dress hanging in my closet, still in its garment bag, and wonder if I'm making a mistake. What if David doesn't actually want me there? What if I'm misreading everything, building hope on a foundation of wishful thinking? What if I show up and he's mortified, forced to acknowledge the mother he's kept hidden away? But then I remember the quote in the program. The one about how I taught him that success isn't measured by what you accumulate. If he didn't mean it, why would he say it? Why put my name there at all? I practice walking in my new shoes around my apartment. The heels are higher than anything I've worn in years, and I wobble at first, gripping the kitchen counter for balance. But I keep practicing until I can move with something approaching grace. I'm not going to stumble. Not this time. On Thursday, 2 days before the gala, I almost call David. My finger hovers over his number 3 times before I force myself to put the phone down. If he wanted to talk to me before the event, he would have called. The silence is a test, maybe, or a sign, or nothing at all. I can't know until Saturday. Saturday arrives. I go to the salon and let them do my hair and makeup. I put on the midnight blue gown and the shoes and the clutch, and I look at myself in the mirror. I barely recognize the woman looking back at me. She looks confident. She looks like she belongs in a ballroom full of wealthy people. She looks like someone's mother, not in a diminishing way, but in a way that suggests strength and dignity and worth. The stylist steps back, admiring her work. "You look absolutely stunning, Mrs. Matthews," she says. "Your son is going to be so proud." Proud. The word catches in my throat. Will he be proud? Or will he be embarrassed that I showed up uninvited? That I'm intruding on his carefully constructed life? I push the thought away. I'm listed as an honored guest. I have every right to be there. I take a taxi to the Drake Hotel because I don't trust myself to drive in this dress. When I walk in, I'm overwhelmed by the grandeur. Crystal chandeliers and marble floors and people in elegant clothes holding champagne glasses. I give my name at the registration desk. The woman looks it up and smiles. "Mrs. Matthews, we're so happy you could make it. Your son asked us to seat you at his table." His table. Not a table somewhere in the back. His table, front and center. She gives me a program, and I flip through it as I walk toward the ballroom. There, on the page listing honored guests and major donors, I see my name. Helen Matthews, mother of David Matthews. And underneath, a quote from David that I've never heard before. "My mother taught me that success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give. Everything I've built, I built on the foundation she gave me." I have to stop walking, have to press my hand against the wall to steady myself. He said that. David said that about me. About the mother he hasn't spoken to in 3 years. About the woman he kept at arm's length with monthly checks and silence. Maybe the silence wasn't rejection. Maybe it was protection. Maybe he knew that if he let me in, if he really let me into his world, I'd see how far he'd risen and feel even smaller. Maybe the distance was mercy. Or maybe I'm making excuses for him the way I've made excuses for everyone else who's hurt me. I walk into the ballroom, and it's even more overwhelming than the lobby. Hundreds of people in evening wear, waiters circulating with champagne, a stage set up at one end with lights and microphones. I scan the room looking for David, but I can't find him. Instead, I find my seat at a table right near the front. My name is on a place card, Helen Matthews, directly across from another card that says David Matthews. I sit down, my heart pounding. Other people arrive at the table introducing themselves. A city councilwoman, a CEO of some company I've never heard of, a professor from Northwestern. They all seem to know who I am, or at least who I'm supposed to be, David's mother. They all smile warmly and say things like, "He speaks so highly of you," and "You must be so proud." I nod and smile and wonder if any of it is true. Does he speak highly of me? Is there any reason to be proud of a relationship that exists only in his head and my heart? And then he's there. David. Walking toward the table, taller than I remembered, broader in the shoulders, his hair graying at the temples. He's wearing a tuxedo, and he looks like he belongs here, like he was born to this world of wealth and influence. He sees me and stops. Just for a second, his carefully composed face cracks, and I see something raw and complicated. Surprise? Fear? Love? I can't tell. Then he's moving again, coming around the table, and I stand up because I don't know what else to do. "Mom," he says, and his voice breaks on the word. "David," I manage. And then we're hugging, and he's holding me tight, and I'm crying into his expensive tuxedo, and I don't care who sees. I don't care about appropriate. I don't care about anything except the fact that my son is here, and he's holding me, and for the first time in 3 years, I feel like maybe I still matter to someone. We pull apart finally, both of us wiping our eyes. Everyone at the table is politely pretending not to notice. "I didn't think you'd come," David says quietly. "I listed you as an honored guest, but I didn't send an invitation because I was afraid you wouldn't want to see me." "Why would you think that?" "Because I've been a terrible son. Because I left, and I built all of this, and I didn't bring you with me. Because I sent money instead of love, and I know that's not what you needed." I stare at him. "You think I didn't want to see you?" "I know you didn't. I could hear it in your voice every time we talked. How much I'd hurt you by leaving. How much you needed me to be different than I am. So I stopped calling because I couldn't be what you needed and I couldn't stand to disappoint you anymore." Is that true? Did I make him feel that way? Did my need push him away? "I just wanted to know you," I whisper. "I wanted to be part of your life." "You are part of my life," he says. "You're the most important part. Everything I've done, every company I've built, every dollar I've given away, it's all because of you. Because you taught me to see people who were invisible, to help people who couldn't help themselves, to use whatever I had to make things better. I didn't teach you that. I was just trying to survive. You taught me by example, by working 2 jobs to keep me fed, by choosing my needs over yours, by showing me that love is action, not just words." The program starts. Someone makes a speech, then another. I barely hear any of it. I'm too focused on David sitting across from me, on the fact that he's here and I'm here, and maybe we're not as broken as I thought. When it's time for David to accept his award, he walks up to the podium, and I expect a polished speech about technology or philanthropy or whatever it is successful people talk about at these events. Instead, he looks right at me. "I want to tell you about my mother," he begins. "Helen Matthews. She's sitting right there, probably wondering why I'm embarrassing her." The crowd laughs. I feel my face heat. "My mother raised me in a 1-bedroom apartment in Bridgeport. My father died when I was 12, and she took a second job cleaning offices at night to pay for my education. I remember being a teenager and feeling so ashamed that my mother was a janitor. So ashamed that when my friends asked what she did, I'd lie and say she worked in an office, which was technically true." He pauses, his voice thick. "I was ashamed of the woman who sacrificed everything for me, and that shame drove me. I wanted to be successful enough that she'd never have to clean another office, rich enough that people would see her as more than just a poor widow, powerful enough that nobody would ever dismiss her again." He looks at me, and his eyes are wet. And I did it. I built companies. I made money. I achieved every goal I'd set. But in the process, I lost sight of what mattered. I lost sight of her. I thought sending money was enough. I thought giving her financial security was the ultimate way to honor her sacrifice. But I was wrong. The room is completely silent now. My mother didn't need my money. She needed my presence, my time, my acknowledgement. And I didn't give her that because I was still that ashamed teenager, trying to prove something instead of just loving the woman who loved me first. He steps away from the podium and walks toward me. I stand up because I don't know what else to do. "Mom," he says, loud enough for everyone to hear, I'm sorry I made you invisible. I'm sorry I prioritized everything else over you. I'm sorry I took 3 years to figure out that success without you means nothing. I'm crying now, really crying. Not the quiet, appropriate tears I usually shed, but loud, ugly sobs. And I don't care. I don't care who sees or what they think. I forgive you, I whisper, and I mean it. I forgive him for the distance and the silence and the money instead of presence. I forgive him because he's here now, because he sees me now, because I matter now. He hugs me again, right there in front of hundreds of people, and the room erupts in applause. Someone hands him his award, a crystal plaque or something, but he doesn't even look at it. He just holds me, and I hold him, and for the first time in years, I feel whole. Around us, people are standing, clapping, some wiping their own tears. I catch glimpses of faces in the crowd, strangers moved by our moment, by this public acknowledgement of private pain and healing. A woman in a red dress has her hand over her heart. An older man in the back nods with understanding, as if he recognizes something of his own story in ours. The applause continues, washing over us like a wave, and David whispers in my ear, "I love you, Mom. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it right." The rest of the evening passes in a blur. People come up to congratulate David and to tell me how moved they were by his speech. The city councilwoman says something about mothers being the unsung heroes of success stories. The CEO says he's calling his own mother tomorrow. The professor asks if I'd be willing to speak to her class about sacrifice and family. I say yes to all of it. Yes, I'll speak. Yes, I'm proud of my son. Yes, I'm glad I came. Yes, yes, yes to everything, because I feel untethered from all my usual caution and fear. David stays by my side the whole night. We talk, really talk, for the first time in years. He tells me about his companies, about the foundation, about his life. I tell him about the library, about Marcus's wedding, about Patricia. "Wait," he says when I get to the part about being seated in the second row. "Patricia was in the front row at Marcus's wedding?" "Yes, she helped plan everything." "And you didn't tell Marcus how that made you feel?" "How could I? He was so happy. Sarah loves Patricia. I didn't want to ruin anything." David shakes his head. "Mom, you have to stop doing that. You have to stop making yourself small so other people can be comfortable." "I don't know how to do anything else." "Then I'll teach you," he says, "starting now." He pulls out his phone and makes a call. I can only hear his side of the conversation. "Marcus, it's David." "No, everything's fine. I'm at a gala with Mom." "Yes, Mom. When's the last time you called her?" "Uh-huh. And when's the last time you invited her to something?" "Right. Well, here's the thing. That ends now. Mom is coming to Thanksgiving with me, and you're invited if you want to actually show up for her. If not, that's your choice. But I'm done watching her be treated like an afterthought by her own family." He hangs up. I'm staring at him, shocked. "You can't just—" "I can, and I did. Mom, you've spent your whole life accommodating everyone else. It's time someone accommodated you." My phone buzzes. It's a text from Marcus. "David called. What's going on? Are you okay?" I look at David. What should I say? The truth, that you're more than okay, that you're done being invisible. I text back. "I'm at a gala with your brother. Everything is fine. We can talk tomorrow." Within seconds, my phone rings. "Marcus." I hesitate, but David nods, so I answer. "Mom? What gala? Why are you with David? I thought you two didn't talk." "We didn't. We do now." "I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I tell you?" Something in me shifts, hardens. Why didn't you tell me that Patricia has been undermining me for months? Why didn't you notice when I was seated in the second row at your own wedding? Why didn't you care that your wife wants distance from me? Silence. Marcus, I love you. But I'm done pretending that being tolerated is the same as being valued. I'm done accepting scraps and calling it enough. Your brother understands that. If you want to understand it too, we can talk. But not tonight. Tonight I'm celebrating with the son who remembered that I matter. I hang up before he can respond. My hands are shaking. I've never spoken to Marcus like that. Never asserted myself. Never demanded more. David is grinning. That was perfect. That was terrifying. Same thing sometimes. We stay at the gala until late, and then David insists on taking me home. Not in a taxi. In his car, a sleek black Tesla that probably costs more than I've made in my entire life. We pull up to my apartment building in Rogers Park, and I feel a wave of embarrassment. This is where I live. This small, shabby building with the cracked sidewalk and the broken intercom. But David doesn't seem to notice or care. He walks me to my door and hugs me goodnight. Can I see you again? He asks. Like, regularly? Can we do this? Do what? Be family, real family. The kind that shows up and stays and doesn't make love conditional on convenience. Yes, I say. Please. Yes. He leaves, and I go inside and sit on my couch in my midnight blue gown, and I cry. But these aren't sad tears. They're release tears. Relief tears. Tears that wash away years of accumulated pain and neglect. I think about Marcus, probably panicking right now, trying to figure out what happened. I think about Patricia, who will hear about all this and try to spin it somehow. I think about Sarah and the weekly dinners I won't be attending anymore, and the holidays will be rotating fairly. And I realize I don't care. None of it matters the way it used to. Because I have David back. Because I stood up for myself. Because I wore a midnight blue gown and sat at the honored guests table and let my son tell the world that I matter. That night, I barely sleep. I keep replaying the evening in my mind. David's speech, the hug, the phone call to Marcus. My own voice saying the things I've been too afraid to say for years. Sunday morning, my phone rings early. It's Marcus. Mom, can we talk? Yes. Can I come over? I hesitate. My apartment is small and shabby, but then I think, so what? It's mine. It's honest. It's where I live. Okay. He arrives an hour later, and he looks terrible, like he hasn't slept. He sits on my couch and stares at his hands. I've been thinking about what you said, he begins, about being tolerated versus being valued, and I need to know. Do you really feel that way? Do you really think I don't value you? I think you love me, I say carefully, but I don't think you see me. I think Patricia has inserted herself into your life so completely that you've forgotten who was there first, who sacrificed for you first, who loved you first. Patricia is just trying to help. Patricia is trying to replace me, and you're letting her. He flinches. That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked my opinion about something important? When's the last time you prioritized my feelings over Sarah's or Patricia's? When's the last time you called me just to talk, not because you needed something or felt obligated? He can't answer. We both know it. I'm not saying you have to choose, I continue. I'm not asking you to cut Patricia out or anything dramatic. I'm just asking you to see what's happening. To see how I've been slowly erased from my own role in your life, and to decide if that's really what you want. It's not, he says quickly. Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, I didn't realize. But you're right, Patricia she's been taking over. And I let her because it was easier than dealing with the fact that you and Sarah don't really connect. Sarah doesn't want to connect with me. She wants to connect with Patricia, and that's her choice. But it shouldn't mean I disappear completely. You're right. You're absolutely right. He looks at me, really looks at me, maybe for the first time in months. When did you get so strong? Last night, I say. When your brother reminded me that I'm allowed to matter. We talk for another hour, really talk. He apologizes. I accept. We make tentative plans for him to come to Thanksgiving at David's house, though he's not sure if Sarah will come. That's her choice, I say. But I need you to understand something, Marcus. I'm done begging for scraps. I'm done being grateful for the bare minimum. If you want me in your life, I need to actually be in your life, not as an afterthought or an obligation, as your mother. I understand, he says, and I'll do better, I promise. I want to believe him, but I've heard promises before, so I just nod and hug him goodbye and tell him I love him, because I do. Even when he disappoints me, even when he chooses Patricia over me, I love him. But I love myself too now, and that's new. That's revolutionary. The next few weeks are strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. David calls me every day, sometimes just to check in, sometimes to invite me to things. Dinner at nice restaurants, a art gallery opening, a fundraiser for his foundation. I go to all of it. I buy more nice clothes, using the money I've been hoarding for emergencies. I figure learning to live is the ultimate emergency. Patricia calls me once. I hear you've been spending time with David. I have. That's nice, though I'm surprised he has time for family dinners with his schedule. The implication is clear. He makes time for me, but Marcus doesn't. It's my fault somehow. He makes time for what matters to him, I say. We all do. She doesn't call again. Marcus does better, not perfect, but better. He invites me to dinner. He asks my opinion about a work decision. He starts calling me Mom again instead of Helen in Sarah's presence, which Sarah clearly doesn't love but tolerates. Sarah herself remains distant. I've accepted that we'll never be close. That's okay. Not everyone has to love me. As long as Marcus sees me, values me, makes space for me in his life, that's enough. Thanksgiving arrives. David hosts at his penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. It's enormous and beautiful and nothing like anywhere I've ever been. Marcus comes without Sarah. She decided to spend the holiday with her family, which Marcus says with an apologetic shrug. It's fine, I tell him, and I mean it. I'm just glad you're here. The three of us have dinner together, the first time in years. We talk and laugh, and David tells embarrassing stories about Marcus from when they were kids. Marcus retaliates with stories about David's awkward teenage years. I just listen and feel grateful. After dinner, we're sitting on David's balcony, wrapped in blankets against the November cold, and Marcus says, I talked to Sarah about everything, about Patricia and how she's been positioning herself as more important than you, about the wedding seating and the holidays and all of it. And she said she didn't realize it bothered you, that you never said anything. I shouldn't have to say anything. The fact that I'm his mother should be enough. I told her that. She's going to try to do better. We both are. I nod. I don't entirely believe it will change, but I appreciate the effort. David has been quiet, watching us. Now he says, Mom, I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it before you answer. Okay. What do you want? Not what you think you should want. Not what would make other people happy. What do you actually want for yourself? I've never been asked that question. Not in 68 years. What do I want? I want to matter, I say slowly. I want to be seen. I want my love to be valued, not just accepted. I want to stop feeling like I have to earn my place in my own family. Okay, so what does that look like practically? I think about it. I want regular contact, real conversations, not just check-ins. I want to be included in decisions that affect me. I want to be treated with respect, not like an obligation. I want my time and my feelings to be valued the same way I value everyone else's. That's not asking too much, David says. That's asking for the bare minimum of what you deserve. Marcus nods. You're right, and we'll do better. Both of us. And maybe they will. maybe they won't. But for the first time, I realize it doesn't matter as much as I thought, because I have something now that I didn't have before. I have my own sense of worth, my own understanding that I deserve more than scraps, my own voice. As winter settles over Chicago, my life shifts in small but significant ways. David and I have dinner every Wednesday. It's our standing date marked in both our calendars. Sometimes we go out. Sometimes I cook at his place. Sometimes he brings takeout to my apartment, and we eat on my couch. Marcus calls more often. The conversations are still sometimes stilted, still navigating the damage of the past year, but they're getting better. He and Sarah come to Christmas at David's, and while Sarah is still cool toward me, she's civil. That's progress, I suppose. Patricia sends a Christmas card. Just a card, no phone call, no dinner invitation. I send one back. We're being polite strangers now instead of sisters, and I find I don't miss what we had. It was never really sisterhood anyway. It was a hierarchy, with me at the bottom. In January, I do something radical. I quit my library job. David offers to support me financially, but I don't want that. Instead, I take the speaking engagement the professor offered me back at the gala. It pays surprisingly well. I start getting more requests. People want to hear about sacrifice and motherhood and finding yourself after 65. I become, improbably, a speaker. Someone who tells her story to rooms full of strangers and watches them nod and cry and recognize themselves in my words. It's strange and terrifying and wonderful. I'm not rich, I'm not powerful. I'm still living in my small apartment in Rogers Park, but I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not just someone's mother or someone's sister or someone's burden. I'm Helen, and Helen matters. My first speaking engagement is at a community college on the South Side. 23 people show up, mostly women over 50, a few younger ones scattered in the back rows. I'm terrified. My hands shake as I grip the podium, and for the first 30 seconds, I can't find my voice. But then I look at their faces, and I see myself in every single one of them. Women who gave everything. Women who made themselves small. Women who are just beginning to realize that they deserve to be seen. I tell them my story. Not the sanitized version, not the appropriate version, the real version. About being relegated to the second row, about Patricia stealing my role, about David sending money instead of love, about the moment I decided I was done accepting scraps. When I finish, there's silence. And then one woman in the third row starts clapping, then another, then all of them. And 3 women come up to me afterward with tears in their eyes, saying, "Thank you. I needed to hear this. I thought I was the only one." You're not alone. That's what I tell them. That's what I wish someone had told me decades ago. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're not selfish for demanding to be valued. You're not wrong for refusing to disappear. After that first speech, the requests multiply. A women's shelter, a retirement community, a support group for widows. Each time I tell the truth. Each time women come up to me afterward and say, "Me too. That's my story too. I'm not famous, I'm not making a fortune, but I'm making a difference. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough." One evening in February, I'm at David's penthouse and he says, "I have something for you." He hands me an envelope. Inside is a check for $100,000. "David, I can't. It's not charity. It's back pay. For all the years you cleaned offices at night so I could go to college. For all the sacrifices you made that I took for granted. For everything you gave me that I never properly thanked you for. I don't need. I know, but I need to give it to you. Please, let me do this one thing to try to make up for all the things I didn't do." I take the check. Not because I need it, though it will change my life, but because he needs to give it. Because accepting it is a way of accepting his apology, his love, his recognition. That night, alone in my apartment, I look at the check and think about what it represents. Not just money, but being seen, being valued, mattering. I think about the woman I was a year ago, the woman at Marcus's wedding in her appropriate dress, sitting in the second row, watching Patricia steal her role. That woman was drowning. She was disappearing. She was dying by inches and didn't even realize it. And I think about the woman I am now, who wears midnight blue gowns and speaks to strangers and demands respect, who has a standing dinner date with one son and improving relations with the other, who matters. It's not a fairy tale ending. Marcus and I are still rebuilding. Sarah may never really accept me. Patricia and I may never reconcile. My life is still small in many ways. I still live in Rogers Park. I still have quiet evenings alone. But I'm not invisible anymore, and that makes all the difference. The phone rings. It's Marcus. Hey, Mom, I know it's late, but I was thinking about you. Just wanted to call and say I love you. Just wanted to call and say I love you. Not because he needs something, not because it's Mother's Day or my birthday, just because. I love you too, I say, and I mean it completely, without reservation or resentment. We talk for a while about nothing important, work, weather, a movie he saw, normal things, things that families talk about when they're not performing or proving or protecting. When we hang up, I make myself tea and sit by my window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. The lights of the city stretch out before me, thousands of lives being lived, thousands of stories unfolding. And I think my story isn't over. It's not even close to over. For so long, I thought my story ended when my sons grew up, when Robert died, when I became old and irrelevant and invisible. But that wasn't the end. That was just a chapter, a hard chapter, but not the final one. Now I'm writing a new chapter, one where I matter, where my voice counts, where I'm not just someone's mother or sister or obligation, but myself, fully, completely, unapologetically. Is it everything I dreamed of when I was young? No, I'm not wealthy or powerful or famous. I don't have a perfect family that gathers for Norman Rockwell dinners. I don't have everything I want, but I have enough. I have 2 sons who are trying, in their different ways, to show up for me. I have work that gives me purpose. I have a voice that people want to hear. I have, for the first time in decades, a sense of my own worth that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. I have myself back. And that's more valuable than anything I